Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video I want to have a look at Chainlink, but before I do, I first want to thank FairDesk for sponsoring this video. Now FairDesk is an exchange, and if it's something you're interested in, you can go sign up with the link in the description, and not only will you get a deposit bonus, but you'll also get the ability to copy my trades live, and I'll do one after every video, so if you think that's cool, go check them out. Now getting into Chainlink, in today's video I want to do a more macro outlook on the altcoin. And this is something that I kind of do, but today I want to really focus on macro, long term if you will. Now to get the basics or the fundamentals out of the way, today we're looking at the logarithmic. So it's not measuring price evenly per grid, it's measuring percentage move evenly per grid. So you'll see price will scale up much quicker. And this just makes it easier to sort of keep the chart all in one screen, and it makes it easier on the eyes while still giving you the same information. Now probably you're drawn straight away to these three zones and these numbers. We'll get into that in a minute, but I first want to talk about what Chainlink's been doing for basically over a year now, and it's basically been oscillating within this range, which is quite unusual for an altcoin to have done this for this long. We've seen quite a few altcoins now do it since maybe the beginning of the year or since March, but Chainlink has been doing it for ages. And we can even see, like, you know, during FTX crash, it didn't bring in any new lows. And it only finally broke below June this year when we had the lull. And for those of you with a bit of charts knowledge, you might also see a Wyckoff pattern forming over here. And for those of you that are unsure of a Wyckoff, don't worry about it. It basically means when you spend a long time within a range, like Link has here, we'll often see, in bullish cases, the Wyckoff will put in a high and then put in a low. It will then put in a lower high, and it will then put in a lower low, but sort of staying within this range, and then it will bounce up out of this range. And to be fair, as far as Wyckoffs go, this is a pretty textbook one. There have been a few more wicks than usual. I mean, if you Google Wyckoff, it'll show you just one wick up, one wick down, lower wick up, lower wick down, but this is, you know, this is rarely the case, and obviously markets are always going to be different. They never play out as the book reads, unless you're going like super zoomed out, and then oftentimes you will see that things. Anyway, this sort of plays into one of the two narratives that I want to present to you today, one being bullish, one being bearish on Link. So I'll present the information to you, and you can decide yourselves where you think it's going. Now you can see this orange box that I've drawn in. I've also drawn another over here. And if you're sort of a believer in the 4-year cycle, which I am, this is roughly the same time period, sort of. You can see 2018 here, all the way to 2019. This was the 2022 to our 2023. We can see we obviously started off in this lower period because this is when Chainlink listed. And we broke out of this zone much quicker in, 2019 compared to where we are now. We've obviously spent much longer in this period, and if you believe we'll follow this pattern, then again this Wyckoff, sorry, I meant to say before as well, I don't know if I did, once you sweep this lower low, you usually push up out, so there's usually green, so it's like a U, if you get me, or a V shape on the chart, to be very blunt. And of course this sort of other orange time period that represents the same time in the 4-year cycle does show that at the end of this orange consolidation period, we did have a big explosive green push out. Now to throw a bit of a, maybe not, we did break out of this area in May of, the 2023 year. And of course, we're now into October and we still haven't broken out. And in fact, we've just retested this high here and been rejected. So whether we see, we've seen Link do this, it puts in 2 highs, puts in 2 lows, puts in 2 lower highs, puts in a low, maybe we see it put in another lower low, comes down to this level, and then it finally explodes out. Maybe that happens. Maybe it just sort of gets rejected here and goes all the way down. Again, it's up for you to decide, but we've sort of missed our window by a few months of breaking out. Now, to be fair, I don't think it's fair to compare this period with this period over here with Link, because of course this is when the coin first launched, so obviously it's going to be a much choppier, more volatile time, and I kind of really don't trust ever really, the first few months of an altcoin listing or launching, because the price is totally speculative unless it does something fundamental or gets some huge partner straight away, which I'm not too sure Chainlink did. I don't think it did. It was kind of just a generic altcoin like Polkadot and Atom. There were lots of layer zeros around the place, so obviously these sort of pumps, I don't put too much weight into them, but naturally, it launched into the bull run, so it did a good year. It did very well for itself. So to compare this sort of time here, Link's inception with its current price, I don't know. However, I do kind of, to me, it does appear very bullish that, first of all, we have this Wyckoff, which usually ends up being bullish for the coin. We usually see a reversal, a spike out of this range, but also seeing the same thing happen here at the end of this orange capitulation period says the same thing to me. However, we did spend a much shorter time down here. As you can see, this was basically, 3 months in this range. I don't know, what am I on about? 86 weeks, 602 days. So, well over a year, almost 2 years, about a year and 3/4. And we have now been in here for a very similar time. And in fact, if we check, excuse me, I measured that long. We've actually been in here for much less time. We've been in here 511 days compared to the 600 or so that we've been in here. So we still do have about a year's time until potentially, not a year's time, 100 days time until we break out of this range. And if we go 100 days into the future, that does put us at January of 2024, when of course there will be lots of hype around the Bitcoin halving, and I'm sure we'll start to see markets move. And I do think we will have put in a lot of lows for a lot of alts. So it could be that this is our low for Link, and any sort of, lower prices here could be the lowest that it goes this cycle. But again, I could all be wrong. I mean, macro-wise, we're seeing a lot of very bearish outlooks, even though we could be close to the Fed pausing. We could, again, we don't know, and even pivoting, things seem a little shaky. And of course, alts pump off liquidity, so when the Fed start printing money, excess liquidity finds its way into these altcoins and makes them move like they did in 2021 and 2020 for Link. So we could see a case of this. However, if you want to paint a bearish point of view, we can see that Link sort of, well, first of all, I'll explain these. During the bull run, we saw Link move in patterns of putting in a high, dropping down to a low, putting in a much higher high, and then the low being the first high here. That becomes a support. And we can see it happens quite a few times. And it also kind of happens here over the macro, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see it follows a chain of 6 here. I just wanted to explain them because they're a bit, kind of, well, if they're just sitting there and not making sense to you, that's not good for you. So I just have them in. They weren't for this video, but I haven't got rid of them. I think they're good indicators. I want to talk about this range because this is where we currently are now. We can see in April of 2020, which is April of 2024, when Bitcoin is expected to have its halving, we can see Link actually had a big price in, pump on its USD, and ever since then it basically climbed. And you could argue really well ever since Link was launched, it's only climbed, but here we actually had sustained upward movements, for basically the year, from April to August, so sorry, 1/3 of the year, but ultimately good price action. We are roughly in sort of this area now, where we're now at the August-September points of floating around in a range, and maybe we have another little while, that 100 days until we see another pump, which again sort of lines up with in 100 days. This Wyckoff could play out. We could see a move like this, where in our orange period, we did pump out of it in the end, and now in this yellow period, we did pump out of it in the end. So I don't think we will return to these lows that Link put in last cycle. Personally, I think Link has done very well, to be honest with you, especially this cycle, just to have consolidated within this range instead of putting in continuously lower lows like basically every other altcoin, Link has done very well. Looking at Link on its BTC pair, we see this is a bit rough, but ultimately it has been going down slightly on its BTC ever since, 2021. Even before that, in 2020, Link's actually been going down on its Bitcoin pair. So it still goes to show that, putting money into your favorite alt is often still not as effective as putting money into Bitcoin over bear market periods. Now, of course, Link absolutely shot up during sort of 2019, 2020 time. And until then, it's kind of oscillated in this macro downward range where it's tested these lows twice and it's tested this upper one quite a few times. Now, this to me does look bullish, I'll be real with you. And the fact that we sort of keep breaking above this resistance here, not breaking above, but we keep testing and wicking above, that does look very bullish to me. And the fact that we've done it more consistently than we've tested the bottoms, and also the fact that we are now, when it's coming to crunch time, when we're getting close to this sort of squeeze area, we are pushing above instead of pushing below. This does kind of, look bullish to me. Also, sort of, if we play it into the future, if it still seems to operate within this range, it will be coming up to January 2024. And we were saying before, around this time, we could see Link do a bullish move. 2024, January to April, we were saying, well, there's quite a few bullish indicators for Link. And it kind of lines up where, say, Link even gets rejected here. It makes its way back down to this line. By December of end of this year, it's white. Maybe it wicks below. And then it pushes up and out around April time. That could well happen. And I think we could see that happen. Again, Link has been one of the few altcoins that have done very well during the bear market. And even though it still has lost value on its Bitcoin pair, it hasn't lost much value. I mean, if you go from its peak to current, you're still down 83% on Bitcoin. But most altcoins are down 99%. And realistically, it's been oscillating. It hasn't been, just going down like most others. So honestly, I'm quite bullish on Link. And I think within these next few months will be your sort of one of your best times to buy. Now, again, I'm not telling you to buy Link. I don't know if it'll do well next bull run. All I can tell you is that it did well last bull run, and it hasn't done poorly this bear cycle. So again, it's kind of up to you to take this information as you will. There is a chance here that we just get rejected by this resistance line up here, and maybe we even push down. Our next sort of support level would be around this here, which I know doesn't look too far from the drops that we've already put in, but it'd be around this $5 range. And then if we break below that, we could well see us come down to this sort of, down to this $3 range, and then below this consolidation period. But I don't think that will play out ultimately. I think Link has shown that it's been a very strong altcoin this bear cycle, and I think for it to drop, say, another 60% from its current price, it's definitely possible. But I think we are coming into crunch time, and where other alts like ADA or Atom that have shown to be a bit weak, even though Atom has picked up quite recently, avax instead, I'll say avax, ADA or avax that have shown themselves to be quite weak, I don't expect very poor performance from Link in the next year, to be honest with you. We could see a move like this where we just have, 9 weeks of poor price action. This is definitely possible, and we did lose 64% value here. We could see that happen again. But again, it's very hard to say. I don't know. It's kind of up to you to make this decision. If I was going to give you a trade on Link, I would say I would put in a buy order at around this 7.5 mark, and I would sell anywhere from around $7 to, you could go down as low as 6.8, I would personally, because that's a good return, 8%, especially if you're leveraged, which, is up to you. You got good returns on that, and it's something that's likely to play out. But me personally, I wouldn't I wouldn't long Link yet. I still think we're going to come back down to these lows. We've been rejected here, I think, and as we've seen every single time Link has tested this level, it's always dropped very quickly. The week after, and we've already had this week where we've tested, so I think we're likely to see something like this play out, where we even see here that we got to this exact level, and then the 3 weeks after that we just dropped, and we even went as low as below $6 on Link. So I would be shorting Link personally. And if you want to see my trade, go sign up to FairDesk, and you can copy it with me and see what I do, and see how well I've done. Again, thanks very much guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe, and see ya.